The first set of poems are from this book that I have not yet succeeded in getting published. The last half are ones I worked on in your Norm's poetry workshop. So this is the first. September dying. I've come in and left the leaves where split light lances. I've come in and left the stones to the dew. I've come in, for wherever I move, a dark shadow dances. I've come in as whispering night claims its due. I've come in now that sight can't curve on the swallow swooping. I've come in with the weight of death in my head. I've come in, for the air's turned cold, and an owl is hooting. I've come in, but the door's only glass, and sunsets come through in red. You don't need to clap after everyone because, you know, you'll end up feeling obliged to, so you can clap at the end if you want. Suddenly, street lights. On that throaty crow call at the end of day, you notice such things as ravaged corn husks and ragworth losing colour to rough shade. Then a hum comes when ground shapes blend, where you and the earth meld brokenly, while birds threading clouds perform a sketch of sky. When wrapped in their giant leaves, two dying sunflowers, hunched over, seem weary, heavily cloaked travellers, trudging out of Walsingham into the spelled gloom. You close the patio doors, draw the drapes, put the garbage out, turn in and wait. There is much to ripen in the warm, dark night. These first few all seem to be about night. Night's crucible. The chatter and shrill of voices fade, and in the window the outline of a hanging willow bleeds into a blackening sky. If I could drop my arms into the half-light, when they touched dark, it would fold around me like the closing petals of a rose, slowly. Were I to resist its fragile touch, the hour would fall apart, helpless before me, unable to warm, unable to comfort. Night would not be to blame if it waited for me and I was not ready to step into it alone. If only I'd let the day go, let it slip through my fingers, then night could return, full of darkness and stars. This one is a Christmas candle. We're just finished with Christmas, but I can't resist reading it. We had a custom at home, which I still fulfill every Christmas Eve. We used to light a candle in the window. The idea was that if the Holy Family were travelling, it's to let them know there's a welcome here. The light in the window lets them know. So that has been done for almost centuries, I'd say, in Ireland, and I'm sure in other places too. So this poem is called A Christmas Candle. Last night, I left a candle burning behind the Christ child in the manger. I woke at dawn and rushed to quench the light. Christmas Eve, when I had just turned 20, my job to light the candle in the window that overlooked the road, the beach, the sea. I set it in the bay and drew across the heavy velvet drapes, its light thrown out onto the street to welcome homeless travellers, and went to help my mother stuff the turkey. At midnight, a knock came on the door. Startled, our eyes spoke of all wanderers. a knock, an urgency, a need, and it was Christmas. Again the knocking came. My mother's hands so full of crumbs of sage, thyme, onions, parsley, helplessness. I went. A man, white-faced, almost speechless, behind, the street, the dark, the pounding waves, the stars. Fire! Your curtains! The candle's fallen over. Each year I light a candle for the Christ child. I've opened doors so many times since then. That actually happened. That's a true story. And we're right on Beach Road, so there was no houses opposite to notice anything. And why he was out at that unearthly hour of the night, I don't know. But we were blessed. Siblings, as all of us often feel, we're so fortunate to be here instead of in one of these countries at war. Siblings, 1, Montreal. I used to live in Montreal, and my brother and his children lived there. Montreal. Spinning in and out of light, they wrestle with each other, frisky as cub tigers, chortling, choking on laughter. They pay out life on an endless length of rope. Long after, they'll not remember how they raced to the end of the block when the light was waning, and I didn't dare let the pair out of my sight. Seesawing, he threatens to let her drop. She shrieks, but he never does and never would, she's sure. But still, you'd never know. A day apart means no one to mind and be minded, no one to follow. 2, Sarajevo. They shuffle, her arm draped over his shoulders. If they could make it to the road, if only they could make it to the road. Her body slumps against his arms around her. He has no strength left, lets himself fall. They roll into the ditch. They might still be seen from the road. Perhaps. An army jeep passes. Look, 2 kids, dead. Stop! The jeep comes to a halt. The guys jump and run. Dreaming, man, they're dead as dead. They turn the boy over. Their hands rough, awkward. His arms fall apart, an eyelid twitches. That is all. The girl's body shivers. The soldiers surprise themselves with gentleness. New to peacekeeping duty, one pours water into a hollowed palm as he holds the girl up, cups it to her mouth and dribbles it. The other watches, does the same for the boy. His lips open a sliver. He swallows. They bring blankets, wrap up the boy. They wrap up the girl, carry them. Each one weighs not much more than a newborn. The soldiers look at each other. Together they will life into these lost creatures and wonder why. If the boy dies, the girl will surely follow. This is called The Story. It's as much about the storyteller as the story. The story wraps her around as she sits by the fire, bright coals to light her. Not here, there, in the words, each one her own. And yet, the words have absorbed her, taken her up, using her calling to draw themselves out of their own space in that other time and send them echoing into ours. The story telling itself. A question of balance. This is about my father and I, when I was so high. I walked with him, holding hands, intimate only then. I pacing long child steps on the uneven rough sea wall, and he on the footpath beside, the strand feet below, or the tide if it was in, creating enough danger for the moments to matter. and linger. Always a large ship on the horizon, moving out of Dublin Bay. He had no self-confidence, but only a wish to do the right thing by me. And so we had everything in common. One of the things when we come over to this very large continent, one of the things we miss most, and I know I speak for more than myself, is the sea. Everywhere in Ireland the sea is never too far distant, and I've usually lived by the sea, and so we really do miss it. Tide. I have come far, pulled by an irresistible tug, here to where the land slips away to the sea. I stand in the glow of a street lamp that only deepens the surrounding darkness. Loving night and its wildness, I let it in. No stars, only a small maverick wind ripples the leaves of the oak above me. A soft stirring sifts me, the faraway sound of a child, of a dog, and coming on the wind, the cry of my own longing. I draw nearer and can smell the salt, picture the spume rising, hear the waves hush. I move onward into the darkness, whose raw welcome opens to receive me. We are old friends, old creators, a happy duo. Now we sway to an old tune, much thrummed, much loved, a melody that drifts away and returns on the flow and ebb of its rhythm. I can hear a sigh, a soughing. This ocean that has called to me since childhood knows me intimately, assuredly, and there's no doubt, no compunction in claiming me for its own, its free-floating, buoyant rider of soft swells and storms. I stand on its edge, once more refreshed by its unconquerable roar. This is called The House I Half Lived In. Again, it's autobiographical. My parents went away when we were very small, and we were in boarding school, and then we would go to our grandmother and aunt's house for the holidays. And this is a house I half lived in, which I was born in that house actually. So, what did it stand for? The house I half lived in. It wasn't a home, but it was sturdy, and it had books. I spent my time surrounded by safe walls, but I was elsewhere, with people I got to know from the inside out. Not my aunts, cousins and grandmother. Unreal, because I never knew what was going on inside their heads, under their skins. And they did not know me at all. Perhaps I didn't know me either. The house was there, and the elsewhere, holding me reliably, sturdily, and absorbedly. My favourite character in circuses has always been the clown. I get petrified when the trapeze people go up. I always feel they're going to fall the night I'm there. But the character that I can completely relax and empathise with is the clown. So this is one about the clown. And the quote is, "Laugh, clown, laugh," from Pagliacci, as you all know, by Ruggero Leoncavallo. He lives in back streets under torn-down shacks. The circus found him there, stood him up, painted huge eyes on his quiet face, gave him a round red nose and told him to make all the people laugh. He knows all about sadness. Nothing of laughter. Looks for it in faces. Tries to show what he sees with sweeping waves of his arms, while his lips tremble with love and uncertainty. People laugh. His huge eyes drop tears. How am I for time?
You got 4 more minutes.
Oh, good. Okay. So I'll have 2 more then. Learning to dance in Whitby. I lived in Whitby for 25 years. I came back to Toronto just over 3 years ago. When I went to Whitby, I went into a brand new house. I looked at it before it was even ready. And so this is about that. Learning to dance in Whitby. A black crow flies over, casually, low, with orange beak thrust forward. The day moves minute by slow minute, and speaks to the young and to the old, to those coming, those going, of those gone and those passing through, pressing relentlessly against their shoulders. We must dream. Our forefathers and foremothers dreamed, and we are alive. The sky blows through me, high and blue. Branches hang bare, shake and shuffle in the wind over the earth's unclogging melt. But my mind is crammed with raucous, blind anger. I search to find words to dissolve it. I dig for the pain in which the anger seeded itself and grew, seething. I cry out. What little I do only helps the hot seed germinate, noxious, invasive. I will not tend to it. I will dance, and in the dance, learn to fly. The dance. Once I came to an unfinished road going nowhere, ground measured with stakes, the brown earth of a hill overlooking a town with its feet in the water, its roads leading back to another small town with its feet in the water, houses older than old. I bought into a memory. I came back when my house had a floor and a frame so small I, like Alice, couldn't see how it fit with my chattels. I'd have to camp out in this little box room up the stairs facing west by northwest into fields, an old house, rows of pines that are gone now, exchanged for more houses that steal all my skyline, catch the sunlight and trap it and wrap it in a box full of homes. I must follow where the swallow leads, along a curve, fiddling with a pickle of loose ends and a bow to send them skywards. Wait, just a moment, I'm coming, skydiver. Sweep me up as you lift, clinging onto the tail of a tail is quite perilous. I want a firm grip. Hey, wing dodger, shift me back up on your wings. We take off again, lurching. I won't lose it, won't, don't. Sun is out, sky is high, and we're dancing up here. We'll take on anyone who's inclined. We will laugh, we will cry, be ourselves, you and I. Come along then, mock sense. Yes, to all you can be, just as silly as we, who sing and who dance out of bonds, out of bounds. But what excuse have we for dancing when the world is anxious? People starve, are killed in wars, in hurricanes, in mudslides. How can we laugh in the midst of mourning? If we don't laugh, the world might forget its summer. If we don't sing, how can the tolling of death change to the rhythms of life? So, steal a slip jig with us, come dance out of time. Called Birdman Sweeney and Lucy moved to Toronto and take up apartment dwelling, being used to each other. Birdman Sweeney needs a bit of an explanation. He's a character from ancient Irish history, but he was cursed by a monk and could no longer live under a roof, and he couldn't socialise anymore. So he lived in the trees, in the marshes, all the wild places. And so he went into myth as a birdman. And he was my muse for the writing of my first book of poetry. And I wrote most of it on the train, going from Whitby to Toronto to work. And he was outside in all kinds of weathers. So here we have moved to Toronto. Sweeney and I have moved back from the hinterlands. We live in a nice area, gardens with manicured lawns and high-rise blocks of apartments. We live on the 3rd of 18 floors. 17 really, no 13th, we're superstitious. But we look across the street over low-rise buildings into trees and sky, and sometimes scudding clouds. This morning, just early bloom. We live with an awful lot of frogs and some angels, and we share our space with lots of books and pictures. Our interests are similar, so that helps. We had to squeeze a whole house load into 2 rooms, kitchenette, bathroom. But there are plenty of closets for Sweeney to hide in if the fit takes him. Even in a huge basement locker. But that's full of things, and it's too dark for us. And we've learned over the years to accommodate each other. The closest tree to our windows is a scrawny old fir. Sweeney feels a kinship with it. They can shelter each other under their tattered wings and branches. Thank you.